more questions.
Hello, everyone. We are so excited today for our first workshop today, officially our in-person workshop here for the Ampersand Film Festival, our 15th anniversary. Today, we have a super special guest with us, Dr. Sheri, the owner and agency director for Liquid Talent. She's been involved in casting for feature films such as Captain Phillips, global marketing campaigns and commercials for Fortune 500 companies such as Walmart, Pizza Hut, and Geico, as well as many local and regional projects. We're so excited to have you talk with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate the warm welcome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
If you have any questions, feel free to send them in the chat and I can read them from the chat for the people in the Zoom call. Or if you have any questions, we can toss the box at you and we can talk through the speaker box. Right.
Hey.
With that, I think that's all I have. All right, take it away,
Thank
Sheri.
you. Thank you. I appreciate it. This box is just amazing. That is so cool. Anyway, hi, good morning. Almost good afternoon, right? I know you may have been up a bit. I don't know, maybe not. Class schedules. I'm a morning person, so I've been up a bit trying to get things together. And as I had mentioned just a bit ago, we just got in a movie. So we're casting for Guillermo Diaz's production. Dear Luke, Love Me is the name of it. Anyway, you can check it on IMDb. And that's going to start filming in Richmond this weekend, and it'll be for several weeks. So I'll be sure to provide the information to anyone who's interested, but always an opportunity to get on set. They are providing credit. It's a non-paid production, which just, I know we talked about that yesterday in the session too, about paying your talent, but sometimes it's one of those, you get involved, get in front of the right people, and then you make your network. So tips and tricks for talent and casting. Who's been on a production before? Yeah, okay. And how was that?
Stressful.
Stressful? Was it a lot of hurry up and wait?
Yeah, it's like slow and then fast and slow and then fast.
Yes, that is very, very typical. I've been doing this for 10 years. So I've had Liquid for 10 years and actually got into this business. My son has been acting since he was 10 and he's now 23. So I've been around multiple sets on multiple productions. I've even gotten roped into doing some things, OCP in front of camera, not my forte. I like putting the people puzzle together behind the scenes. And that's why talent and casting really appealed to me. I'm also a college professor. I actually teach here. So I'm also a college professor in the School of Business. And I graduated in '97. You probably weren't even born yet, were you? Yeah, I graduated in '97 with my MBA and went on to get my PhD. I teach college pretty much full time, and then Liquid is my baby. So Liquid Talent Agency. If you're looking us up online, it's liquidtalentgroup.com. And again, it's grown from when I bought it. I purchased it 10 years ago, and it was a box of files that I purchased. And now it's this great thing where we have a lot of network, a lot of relationships. And that's really how we build our business, is through the network and through the relationships and making sure the clients and the talent are taken care of. So it definitely is a two-way street. So let's talk about the people. The people are a super important part of the production. And without the people, we're just filming stuff, right? Or animation or voice, but that still usually requires people. So people are a super important part of the production. And usually what I say is I look at this, any production is like project management. It really is. It's the crew, it's the talent, which is the people part, which is my forte. It's the equipment, it's the locations, it's permits, it's insurance, it's the director and all the other folks that go along with just the whole project of a production. So again, people are one part of the production, but they're a really important part, because without people, again, we have stuff, right? We're looking at filming stuff. In this business, it really is how you present yourself in an audition. Now, for those of you who have been on a production, on a set, did you have to audition? Yeah, no, some yeah, some no. Sometimes productions want auditions and sometimes they just select from your pictures. Right now, with the casting that we're doing for this movie, they're selecting from pictures. So they're not going to hold auditions for these particular opportunities, but sometimes you do. Now, what was your experience like when you auditioned? Stressful?
Yeah. Sort of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you given a script that you had to work with? Did you work with another character or was it just you?
Sometimes it's like with someone else, sometimes it's just by yourself, but
Right, and it varies. And if I answer any questions with it depends, I'm not circumventing your question. It really does depend on the project, on what the production is looking for. What's their process? Their process can differ from production to production. So again, it's partly how you present yourself in the audition, and it usually all starts with the initial perception from your headshots. And I'll talk about that a little bit more too as we go through. Headshots, resume, preparation, following directions. That seems simple, right? I cannot tell you how many times we have to go back and give additional coaching or people, and we're very explicit in our directions on how to submit for a project, where to submit for a project, because it's myself and several directors that work with me at Liquid. What to do? Do you need to do a self-tape? Do they want a current headshot? So what is it they're looking for the submission for the project? Following directions is super important. And that's even true with the self-taping. If we tell you to slate, what's slate? Slate.
your little introduction spiel of your name and
Exactly.
what audition.
Yes, exactly. So, hello, my name is Sheri. I'm auditioning for the role of Rose, and I'll be performing my monologue today. Or I'll be auditioning for the role of Rose. I'm 5'7", 100 pounds, and I live in New Mexico. Whatever they tell you to do is what you want to provide to them. Again, following instructions, super important. I'll go into getting into character in a bit as well, and then feedback. Not a whole lot of it. Honestly, I usually don't get feedback from the clients unless something bad has happened, and that's very unfortunate. There are the rare cases when clients will give feedback that, great job, everybody was amazing on set today, but more often than not, they'll call and say, hey, Jim has his feet up on the desk. Can you call him and tell him not to do that? Sure. Hey, Jim, I got some feedback from the client. So, we have somebody waiting in the room.
Oh, I think she dropped out and now she's.
Oh, should I admit? You
No,
got
I
it?
got it.
Okay. So anyway, there's the whole feedback component, which I have tried to make a difference through my agency in providing more feedback, but that does seem to be just in the industry something that's not given very freely. Anybody have headshots? Headshots, yes? Okay, so good, yeah. So definitely professional industry standard headshots. My clients can tell when you've made the investment in your headshots, and I'm not trying to sell you anything, that's not my role, but I'm telling you, in order for an agent like myself to do my job, I need industry standard materials. I'm sure you've got lovely pictures that you've taken by the tree in your backyard with the fall colors. I'm sure it's gorgeous. However, my clients can tell when you've made the investment to get those photos because it's positioning, it's lighting, it's the way you look, it's the choice of wardrobe. There's a lot that goes into a headshot. So if you're looking to get into acting on a serious note, I would highly recommend seeking out an industry standard headshot photographer. And I use those words very carefully because everybody can take great pictures, but not everybody can take industry standard headshots. Take them with you to the audition, so you want them printed out. Now, COVID has changed our world, right? So it's probably going to be electronic at this point, but it's not a bad idea to have some in your back pocket just in case, just to have some in case you get called on that last minute audition and you need to go and take them with you. Things do seem to be opening up a little bit more in the industry, and more people are getting back together face-to-face in person. But the majority of things are still being done remotely, virtually at this point. So just from a perspective standpoint. And be prepared to leave your headshots with casting. I've seen people come in and give them and then want to take them back. That doesn't usually go over too well. So be prepared to leave the headshots or whatever materials with the casting director. And usually what they'll do is they may lay all of them out and then go through based on, the conversations, based on the audition, and then based on the headshot, because they remember you from the headshot, they'll then make their selections for the roles. That's been my experience. Okay, so your resume, and these will vary pretty widely as well, but there are certain things that you should include on your resume. It should be specified by type of project. So if you've been in some films, if you've done commercials, if you've done print, if you've done voiceover, all of those should be sections or categories on your resume. Again, what works best for you, just based on your experience, may not work for your friend. So whatever your experience is, that's how you want to craft your resume. You can put extra roles on there. The more you build your experiences, though, typically those will start to fall off. Again, that's been my experience. But if you've got relevant extra work, like I know this Dear Luke Love Me project will be accredited. You will get credit on your IMDb. So if you have an IMDb, so you will get credit on your IMDb. That's something the production has promised. So if you've got that relevant extra experience, then maybe something you want to include on your resume. But again, as you build your resume, as you get more lead or principal or speaking roles, that may then become subordinated on your resume as something that you've done, show your experience, again, accredited experience, but then continue to build. Have your agent's contact information on there. I've worked in HR for 30 some years. So before doing this, I worked at NASA, I worked at Anheuser-Busch. I did consulting with Pricewaterhouse. So I'm a business gal. Obviously, I've got my MBA from here. So I came at it from that perspective, again, being in HR. And if you think about this business, it's HR. This is the people puzzle, as I mentioned. So if there's the potential that a resume becomes detached from a headshot, you don't have your contact information on your resume, it's probably going nowhere because they're not going to know how to get in touch with you. Even if they love what they see, you've got great stuff on your resume. If you don't have your agent's contact information on there, then it's probably going in the trash, unfortunately. And attach the resume to the back of your headshot. So I usually see them stapled to the back. And that way, hopefully there's no way it will become disconnected. But yeah, definitely make sure it's secured to the back of your headshot, again, with the intention of leaving it at the casting site once you leave. Any questions so far? Good? Okay, preparation. Do not be late. Seriously? Do I have to say that? Yeah, I do. Unfortunately, I do. Do not be late, even if you need to scope out, and this is true for bookings as well. So for auditions or bookings, do not be late. Make sure you're there at least 5 minutes ahead of time, if not a couple more minutes. That's always good practice. If you need to, hang out in the car, take a walk around the block, whatever you need to do, but make sure you are there and checked in on time. Parking, I'll often get calls the day of people having their auditions or the day of their booking saying, where do I park? I have no idea. I'm generally not there. So again, it's that scoping it out. If we do have those instructions, we'll certainly provide that to you. Sometimes it may be you've got to pay for parking, especially in Richmond. Usually in Richmond, you'll have to pay for parking. So just be prepared. Maybe go with a couple bucks in your pocket, again, to make sure that you are able to get out of the parking garage, because parking in Richmond can be pretty limited. POC, who's my point of contact? Generally, that's something we would provide you as well. Who is the contact? Who do I get in touch with? If I'm running late, we'll certainly call your agent. But if I'm running late, or if I need further instructions on how to get to the location, is there a point of contact that I can get in touch with? And then be patient. Be patient during the process. Sometimes we get behind in casting. Holy moly. Yes, it happens. The director thinks we'll take 5 minutes per talent. No. Then we get into role, we get into character, and we start the audition, and we're taping and filming and talking and, stop take, start take. And it usually takes longer than 5 minutes. So I would just ask, be patient, be respectful of others. You should get your due time as well in the audition. Make sure you do. Observe your surroundings, silence your cell phone. We get that a lot too. And usually we'll have a sign on our door when people walk in, please silence your cell phone, just as a reminder. But that can mess up a whole take. If somebody's auditioning and someone else's cell phone goes off and it's recorded, and we can't necessarily submit that to the client, so we have to retake, and that just lengthens the process too. What do I mean by set talk? You guys know? What's set talk?
Lingo,
What's that?
lingo, like
Yes,
Lingo
it's
and
lingo. It can also be like gossip, for lack of better words. Something you want to avoid at all costs. Now, with the lingo part of it, if you're not sure about something, I would recommend talking to your agent first, instead of getting on set and saying, well, what does a 13-week cycle mean? What does that mean? That's a buy. So if we're buying media time, we could do, 1 cycle, 2 cycle, so forth. What does that mean? Talk to your agent, ask your agent those types of questions, instead of asking the client. It gives you more of a professional appearance. But what I've seen on set at times, and even in auditions, is people talking about other agencies, people talking about other talents. It just doesn't set a very professional tone during the session. So just make sure that you refrain from set talk. Not saying that you can't talk to other people, but just the topics that you talk about should not be related to other people or your agent or other agencies. And self-taping following instructions, I mentioned that earlier. You'll probably hear me mention that several times because super important to follow the instructions, follow the directions that are provided. Because if you don't, the whole process is a weeding in or weeding out. If you don't follow the instructions, what's going to happen? You're weeding out. You're weeding yourself out of the process. Even if it's something as simple as if we give you instructions to send 1 file, and I've had this happen before, I get 10 files and I'm like, I either have to put them together, which takes time away from the process and from casting and from other talent, or I'll send it back to you and say, sorry, I need 1 file. Combine it. Well, I don't know how to do that. Okay, then we need to practice and figure it out. So there are things that you can do to help yourself and equip yourself to be successful. And again, bottom line is following the directions. It starts there. So slating, we talked about that. Introduction. Can they ask your age? Can they ask your ethnicity? Can they ask your gender? Can they do that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'm gonna say
What do you guys
no.
think? No?
say yes.
Yes?
Because they're trying to cast a
They'd be
particular
like, "You
role.
black." Can they do that?
So, and the entertainment industry only in the entertainment industry, it is considered what I have a BFOQ, a bona fide occupational qualification. Now that comes from my years of HR. I wouldn't expect for you to necessarily know that, but I have gotten some pushback from talent at times that say, you can't ask that for me. Well, yeah, I can actually, because it's in an entertainment business. Now, when I worked for Anheuser-Busch, what I had happened at one point during the hiring process is someone asked a candidate what their year of graduation from high school was, and then proceeded to calculate their age in front of them. And I was mortified because you can't do that in any other world, in any other business outside of the entertainment industry. You cannot ask those questions. It's not relevant towards the success of someone in that job if they have full qualifications. In this industry, it's considered a bona fide occupational qualification, because if we're looking for someone for a retirement community, it's probably not going to be you guys. If we're looking for somebody for a Pampers commercial, again, it's probably not going to be you guys. If we're looking for somebody maybe for A Walmart project. You could be a group at Walmart. We've actually done work with William and Mary too. So you could be students at William and Mary. Hey. So it is justified in the entertainment business only that it is okay for us to ask those types of questions that in any other industry or business, it would not be legitimate. You could get sued for that type of question. In our world, it's okay. So question, Hooters restaurant, they hire only females. Is that okay? No? Because they classify themselves as an entertainment business, it's okay. And that blew my mind. I was like, that's not okay. But that's my understanding. Because they classify themselves as an entertainment business, then yes, it is okay for them to identify the gender that they want in those positions. Question?
Yeah, how do they do that? Is there like an official registry where you say like, I'm an entertainment business?
I'm
Like,
assuming when they filed all of their business
Yeah.
paperwork and all of that, they said that they're entertainment. Yeah, I was just blown away.
no one has like veto power
No
over
one
that.
has
Like,
questioned that.
They are.
I was like, that's really interesting. So anyway, yeah, just a little tidbit how they have their business. And again, that's my understanding. They have it set up as an entertainment business so that they can legitimately say that's a BFOQ for the entertainment business.
Okay.
Give them what they ask for in your performance. And this is one thing that my clients also seem to like to do is, okay, you'll interpret it and say A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And they'll say, well, that's great, but give me another interpretation. Give me another version. And you'll be like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So they're always looking for how you interpret it. Then they may give you some feedback, and then they want you to give them another version. Don't be surprised if you get to an audition and they ask you to do that. I know my clients definitely like to do that. Thank them when you're done. I think that goes without saying as well. Just thank you for your time. I appreciate the opportunity. You wouldn't believe that people don't do that these days. So it's just a nice way to kind of put a bow on it and wrap things up. And you may also ask when you might expect to hear back. You know, how long are you going to be casting? How long is the process going to take? Now, as I mentioned with feedback, and again, it's been, in my experience, very specialized to this industry, they don't always let you know if you don't get the role. They may. It depends on the agency and the process. And then sometimes you may hear that you didn't get the role, but things change and then you did get the role, or vice versa. So until you're officially booked, they may check availability, they may gather your demographic information, they may have you hold the dates. Now, there can be variations based on if it's a SAG. SAG is union, so we do union work as well. So it could be a Screen Actors Guild or SAG production, or it could be a non-union production. In this market, and particularly in Richmond, which is where I'm based, in our market, there's not a lot of union work towards DC or First Market, New York or LA. Any of those, you really do need to be a member of the union to kind of get your foot in the door and even get auditions. At least that's what I've been told from talent, because I'll often have talent, from New York talk to us and say, well, we really need to get our SAG eligibility so we can join the union, so we can start auditioning up here in First Market. So a lot of what I'm referencing, again, from my experiences, is here in like the Richmond market. And we do anything from Baltimore, DC, down to Carolina. We've done Walmart in Texas, we've done Publix in Florida. So we've done a couple out in different states, but the majority of our work is here in Virginia along the Eastern Seaboard. Different markets require different things. Makes sense, right? Question?
Back on the lake thing, is there ever a point where you're so late you just shouldn't show up?
Well, yeah.
What point do you think that is?
My recommendation would always be to call the agent if you can, or call the POC. And I can tell you, this happened not too long ago. It was actually a booking, and the person was coming from Baltimore, and she knew her call time. And she called me So Baltimore is several hours away from Richmond. She called me with like an hour and a half to get there. And she's like, I'll be there by 3. I think her call time was like 1. I'll be there by 3. Okay, so I called the client. We got that all worked out. They were able to switch some scenes around. Great, everybody's happy, right? No, when I called her again because she wasn't on set at 3, she's like, I'm still an hour away. I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, at that point, it's too late. But I would say, because traffic happens, stuff happens, try to circumvent that as much as you can. But in those situations, always communicate. Don't leave somebody hanging and let them think, where are you? Why didn't you show up? Because a no call, no show is worse than if you call and you're running late. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't say there's an actual, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And a lot of times casting may be running behind, which is great for you if you're running late, but always communicate what's going on. Good question. Any other questions?
I have a question. And you touched on this earlier, but so you were talking about resumes and having your agent information on there and such. So like, and that might be exclusive to this world, but like for example, I have a resume and a CV that lists like everything else that I've done, right? Like the resume is like work experience and the CV is like exhibitions or whatever,
Okay.
right? Like other stuff,
Yeah,
lectures, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So how would you account for that in this sort of world?
If it's applicable or pertinent to what you're going for, because I have 2 resumes too. I've got my college professor business resume and then I've got my liquid resume. So whatever's pertinent at that point in time, that's what I would recommend. And you may have a master resume where it's got everything and then you just kind of pull and cater it to whatever you're looking at, just depending again on the applicability.
Yeah.
That might not be something that, and if you don't want to put your agent's information like on your, business industry or your entertainment industry resume, then put yours. I mean, that's fine. A lot of people in this market are with several non-exclusive. So I'm non-exclusive as far as the way I run my business. And that means I'm okay with you working with other non-exclusive agents. It's just if anybody goes exclusive, then generally that's a challenge because you can only work with that agency over this demographic or this geographic region. But yeah, always make sure you have some point of contact.
Right. Do you think, does it matter like if you have an agent or not at all? Like, I would consider like myself to be like a freelancer.
Yeah, not really. I mean, there are pros and cons. There are a lot of people that just pursue like the opportunities I put out when I cast, but there are a lot more opportunities for those who are on the roster. So it's really your call. And we often say, liquid's not right for everyone, and you don't have to be on the roster to be considered for certain jobs. Like the movie, it's wide open because we're casting. Buffalo Wild Wings, that was more so the people on our roster. So it kind of just depends on the project and what we need to do to source the talent. We've got quite a few people, but our roster's pretty transient just because people are always moving to first market. Atlanta's hot right now. I mean, Atlanta's a hot spot, so lots of people are going to Atlanta. Question?
I used to live in LA, and I don't know if it works like that. It's around here. I guess with or without an agent, you used to have to pay for the listings for jobs to find out who was casting or what was happening, because that's like a whole other industry out there.
Yeah, it depends on what it is. We just did a movie, Never Give Up, and we went through backstage for casting, and I think, I don't know it from a talent perspective, I only know it from a casting perspective. I think talent does have to pay to be on that. So you would have to pay them to get access to that information. But there's also Virginia Production Alliance here in Virginia. If you're not a part of that, I would highly suggest take a look at that. I don't know, I think it was like 25, maybe $50 to sign up last time, but that then gets you on their listserv. And anytime somebody posts out there about a talent need or a crew need, or I don't know, maybe they're looking for a 1960s car and you have that, you'll get that information from their listserv. They also do meetings several times a year. And generally we go to, meet people and just interact, and they'll talk about the state of the industry here in Virginia. So that's another way. They may have a student membership. Don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure. We are sponsored because we're a company, but another way to get information. There's also social media. Have to be careful of that. We post a lot on social media on our page, which is the Liquid Talent page for Facebook. But there are some projects out there that kind of leave me wondering. So we guarantee, safe environment. We guarantee our talent will be paid. We vet the clients if we haven't worked with someone before, but we've got pretty strong relationships with our clients. But if we haven't worked with them before, we'll have that conversation about their projects. And if we don't feel it's the right fit for our business, then we don't go forward. But I'm not sure, other than backstage. Actors Access is another one. Are those the types of things you were
Yes,
familiar with?
very similar.
Yeah.
My wife did it once. We went because I had a lot of friends that are actors out there. And we actually went just for fun. And they're like, yeah, this was 20-something years ago. You paid $60 for 3 months of listings.
Wow. Was it a lot? Was it centralized or was it like all over the place?
It was mostly centralized to that area, but yeah.
Okay. And when we've got a nationwide search going on right now for a law firm that's going to film in Virginia, and the range is like Seattle, Washington area. But yeah, sometimes we'll get the nationwide searches as well. And then we take a different route with that typically and go wider in the casting net. But it depends.
I mean, this is way before, this is like early 2000s too. So this was totally when you used to get the paper and the whole thing and all the, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now, but I'm sure they have an
I-
electronic way of doing
Oh,
it.
yes. And I can't imagine. So when I took over Liquid, like I said, about 10 years ago, before that time, agents would actually package up the headshots and send them to the productions. And I'm like, I can't imagine. We have something called Motosphere. It's our own internal talent management system that we use. Everything's electronic. You call me, you say, I want 10 people with purple hair and green fingernails, and I'll put you a package together and send it over in 5 minutes. But right now we're casting for dogs. So I put a package together of dogs. They want dogs who can run through a sprinkler and play. They want dogs who can tug of war. They want a bulldog and a dachshund. So I put 4 little packages together and send them over. I can't imagine trying to get photos of the dogs and put them in the mail and send them over, and mail's so unstable right now. So anyway, but yeah, things definitely have evolved. They have changed. And we pretty much do everything electronically. Unless you're going to an in-person casting, then you need to take your stuff. Don't rely on the people there to have it. I've had that happen before too. They show up and they're like, don't you have that already? Yeah, I do, but you should have brought it.
So say I'm talent and I come to you and I want you to be my agent.
Mhm.
Do you get paid per session that you get for me, or is it a fee, or how does that?
We get paid when you get paid. So we don't have roster fees. I know some agencies have roster fees. We don't offer it like that. So when you book a job, then we get an agency fee. And depending on what type of job it is, if it's union, non-union, if we're serving as paymaster, if we're serving as casting, all those things go into what that fee might be. It might be anywhere from 0 to 20%, just depending on what it is and the type of job and the service that we're providing. And then the client sets the rates. So we don't set the rates for any of our projects. People seem to think I have this magic power to set a rate. I don't. The production will call me and say, hey, I've got $450, want to do a 1-week cycle. I need talent on set for a half day. Who you got? Okay, I go out to the roster. Who's interested and available? And if you're not, it's okay. It's okay to pass and turn it down. But I don't need a whole that's a crazy rate, and I don't set the rates. We can try if we want to try to negotiate, but if everybody's getting the same, then I'm big on equity. But yeah, good question. Any other questions? Anything else? Question?
Yes,
Go
I have a
ahead.
question.
Sure, go ahead.
Say you're just like a person who's just like, that seems fun, just want to dabble a little bit, but not have like a whole agent casting, let me be dead person background, something like that. Where would you look for that?
Like social media, some social media sites. There are a lot of social media sites out there that ask for, and what you're talking about really is like an extra. So you're looking to be an extra. You don't need an agent necessarily for that. I would just tell you to be careful because again, some things on social media might not be what they seem. Yeah, so always research and find out, who's the poster, who posted the information about the project, what's the project about. And even if you have questions, you can come to somebody like me. I'll always try to help where I can, tell you what I know or not know. And I've even worked with people before that weren't on the roster that said, hey, I got this contract, would you take a look at it? And I'm like, ugh, I personally wouldn't participate in that. But anyway, I can only tell you based on my reaction, my experience. But yeah, and we even post things out there, like I said, on our Facebook page or on social media. There's all kinds of like Act Up DMV, actors in Virginia. So there's lots of things on mainly Facebook is what I see on social media.
Okay.
But lots of things out there that you can find just to get your foot in the water and see if you like it. And if not, that's okay too.
Thank you.
Other questions? Anything else? Good? Okay. All right, so getting into character, and I won't go too much into detail. I know I'm trying to be sensitive of our time as well. Oh my gosh, time's flying. How do you get into character? I mean, I have one coming up that they have explicitly said they need a young girl who can cry on command. That's a skill. So you've got to be considerate of how do I get myself into character? And that's an individualistic thing as well. Just thinking about what's the character, how are you going to represent the character? Have you been given any feedback from the production about the character? And generally, when we were casting for Never Give Up, that was the movie. It hasn't come out yet. It's actually filming right now. It's about the deaf tennis player who won the national championship. Anyway, we would give the character descriptions to those who were interested, and then they'd audition with the script based on what the character was described as being. So we were looking for you to give your interpretation based on it actually was a real person. So some people did their homework and did some research and found out about the real people, and were able to bring that into the auditions as well. So again, a lot of it depends on what the script is, what the storyline is. What are they asking for from you? What are you bringing to the table? Lots of questions that go into getting into character. Again, very, very individualistic. Every actor must know, this is also, we're looking at the playwright and the director. What are they looking for? Your job isn't to judge the story. That I caution you on. This really stinks. Why are you doing it this way? That's not talent's role. I mean, at some point, maybe once you establish yourself, you can give some feedback on ideas and whatnot, but generally it's the director's vision of what they want to pull together. So we have to keep that in mind too. Where is my character in the story? Do I have a couple lines? Do I have 20 lines? If it's commercial, maybe it's a lot of lines. Are they gonna have a teleprompter? Anybody done teleprompter? No?
I've run it.
Yeah. I don't know I could do it because my eyes would be reading and you would be able to totally see it.
All I can say is talent, be nice to your prompter operator because don't make them mad.
Let's hope not, right? Oops, sorry, technical difficulty, it just went out. And as I've talked about the people puzzle, every character is a cog in this machine. So it's going to take everyone working together to make this happen. We did a project with Robert Englund. You know who that is? Freddy Krueger. Yeah. So we did Shadows of History with Robert Englund, and they were like little vignettes of like creepy history stories. But all of that came together into all of these episodes. It was really cool. But everyone who participated was an important part of that, even the dead guys. We had dead guys that, in that particular one. So we had dead guys, we had dogs, we had, I won't play the dead person. We do a lot of, I call it good people gone bad. So a lot of reenactments about true crime stories and stuff. So you never know. So again, back to character stuff, really, what is it about my character? What am I bringing to the table as far as talent? Beware of words and phrases. that you may not use every day, that may be a requirement, make sure you become comfortable with them. We're working on a project right now for a PSA, and it's kind of interesting because they're expecting the talent to recite the words in Spanish. I couldn't do that. I would have a challenge, even though I took several years of Spanish in high school, which was many moons ago. I wouldn't be able just to parrot the Spanish. It would be very, very awkward. It just wouldn't work. But they've hired a subject matter expert that they're going to bring on set, and they're going to deliver the English versions of this, and then they're going to deliver the Spanish versions. So to me, that's definitely a unique project. We've not had that before. But the expectation was you're hired for both, and we'll have somebody to help you with both. And we may have to tape that a little differently. So we may have to have you give a line and then stop, and then give another line and then stop. So it's going to be a little more challenging to film, but that's what they want. Okay, we have to figure it out. And bottom line is, your task is to convince the audience that you are that character, that you are that person that you're trying to emulate from the production, from the script. Feedback. So as I mentioned, give another interpretation. That should be pretty immediately given. You know, hey, we liked what you did. Can you give me something a little bit different? Usually in our casting calls, we'll ask for at least 2 interpretations. So it may be a serious interpretation and then a more lighthearted interpretation, which is fine. Unless you're given specific direction, you don't have to necessarily follow, I'm going to do serious and funny and whatever the other case would be. But if you're given those specific directions, then definitely do it. We even have people bring in props, like for the law firm that we're working with. Part of it talks about using funny animals and stuff in the marketing. And some people even brought in little stuffed toys, little funny animals for their audition. And that made a difference. That to me was very memorable. Not something we asked them to do, but it was their interpretation of the script. And I called the talent who did that, and I'm like, that was great. I really liked that. So I'm all about giving feedback, because that's how we know if we're on course or not. Should we change direction? Are we going the right way? And then, as I mentioned, after the session, you may or may not get feedback. You can always ask, send an email just asking, have they made decisions yet? If you get placed on hold after the session or after the audition, make sure you honor that commitment. You don't want to be perceived in the market as, oh yeah, I put you on hold for that, but this better offer came about and I took this, and now you're still holding for me, but now you've got a commitment to someone else. So that will really hurt your personal reputation, and it hurts the agency reputation too. So if you're ever wondering what's going on, please feel free to ask. That's the way I work. I don't know that everybody works that way, but I'd rather have a conversation with you and have you knowing what's going on and where things stand than just wondering and continuing to wonder and maybe holding those dates in case it comes through. So again, feedback, not necessarily guaranteed, but feel free to ask and get that clarification on where things stand. Okay, and then what? You may get another callback. You may go in person again. So it could be, you know, you submit your headshots for a project, or you submit your photos for a project. They may do a Zoom session. Then they may want to call you in to have you interact with another actor. That's not unheard of. And then they may put you on hold. Now, a hold means a hold. It means you need to hold those dates and that time aside for that client. If you get another inquiry on your time, then you need to let the person who's holding you know. Have they made a decision yet? I've got another inquiry on my time. Don't just say, well, I'm only holding, I'll go ahead and accept something else. Again, that's not the way you want to position yourself in the market. And then typically, a hold will either become a release, meaning they've not selected you, or maybe they've gone another route. Maybe the production has changed the demographic of what they're looking for. Or it could become a booking. At that point, it's pretty solid. When you get that booking notice, it's pretty solid. You should plan to be on the production. Now, Things operate a little differently under SAG, which is union projects versus non-union projects. They typically, if they book you under a SAG project and then release you, you would still get paid. Again, depending on the details of everything, and I'm kind of hypothetically here. But if it's a non-union project, my policy is they have to release you prior to 24 hours for the booking time. So if you're booked for tomorrow at 7 a.m. and they were to release you today right now, they would still have to pay you. That's my business policy. Non-union, it's kind of it differs by organization. That's kind of a free-for-all. So make sure that you understand what the terms are, because if you're holding that time for that booking and then it doesn't come through, they release you, and you're still holding that time, you've probably given up other opportunities. So you want to be fair to yourself as well. So, and then just kind of to wrap things up, here are some of the things that we've done as far as clients. Print, we do a lot of print ads. We just finished Virginia Lottery last week. So if you see new Virginia Lottery commercials on TV as well, maybe one with a little doggy, that would be mine. So we cast pretty much for their productions, and it can be print or it can be video. We've done recently Dominion Energy, which you'll see at the Richmond Airport. If you're going anywhere, check out the Richmond Airport. We did several still photography sessions with them. So you'll see our talent on Dominion Energy. One's a dad coming back to his son, and one's a little girl looking out the window. So those were our folks. Kind of cool. National broadcast, Walmart, Pizza Hut. We did a really cool thing recently through Martin Agency for Geico. For Tag Team, you guys know who Tag Team is? Well, there it is, song. Okay, yeah. So they did a release of ice cream. Now, I don't know how all the powers that be came together for an ice cream for Geico with Tag Team, other than Tag Team did that. They did that one commercial with the family. They're coming in and they're Scoop, there it is. So this was Scoop, there it is. But they were out in front of this big ice cream truck. Apparently it was a limited release ice cream that they only had for a short amount of time, but those were all our talent too. So that was a big one, but it was a fun one. And just short duration. But yeah, they filmed that here in Richmond, which was kind of cool. We've done ECPI, like I said, we've done work with William & Mary, Lumber Liquidators, lots with the lottery. And as I mentioned right now, we've got LL Flooring, which is Lumber Liquidators too. Lottery, we've got Dominion Energy, we've got the Law Group. So at any point in time, we typically will have several projects kind of in the hopper, and we're juggling multiple projects, which not complaining. We've done feature films. Trump Prophecy, like I said, never give up. So we work a lot with Liberty University. Those are through Liberty. Captain Phillips, you may have heard of. We did extras casting for that. So they came here, Norfolk here, and it's a filming on the base, and we did the extras casting. We didn't get to go to the Bahamas because apparently a lot of it was shot in the Bahamas. We didn't get to go there. Bummer. We did a lot with Field of Lost Shoes, which actually filmed on the plantations, not too far from here. So that was kind of cool, about the Battle of Newmarket, right up the road. Anyway, right up the road, they've got a big billboard up about the Field of Lost Shoes. So kind of cool. And then TV broadcasts, Legends and Lies, Animal Planet, The Good People Gone Bad, like I mentioned, Killer Gods, Unmasked, Wicked Attraction, Fatal Attraction, A Haunting. So all those productions film Richmond or Hampton Roads. There is a production studio over across the tunnel, like Virginia Beach side of things, that they do The Haunting and a lot of these shows as well. So it's a very busy area. Question?
Is that the Haunting ones? Is that the one that's on like Amazon Prime? Like A Haunting in this, A Haunting in this, and it's just like a series of.
It was on Travel Channel.
Okay, maybe.
So yeah, it was on the Travel Channel.
Yeah, like
I don't know if it's moved to Amazon. Maybe
I just
it might have.
see it
Yeah,
a
it's a
lot.
haunting. It's all the ghost stories and
Like multiple like documentary kind of type.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, that one. We did one, Ed dying, which is kind of creepy. The whole thing was just really creepy, but we did the reenactors for that, and that's on Discovery Plus. Anyway, just a warning, it's creepy. He was a serial killer. Anyway, yeah, so we cast a lot for those sorts of things. Always sensitive to, does that work for you? I mean, if that's something that you're not agreeable to, then please pass on that project. We're working right now with the folks at the Capitol Wheel in Baltimore on National Harbor. So we're doing a big marketing campaign for them. And you have to be at least 25 to participate in that because they're going to have alcohol or portray people with alcohol. And best policy says that even if you're 21, in order to be cast in a production such as with alcohol or simulation with alcohol, they want you to be at least 25. So it doesn't look like they're marketing to underage as far as drinking. But anyway, yeah, a little tidbit there. So we have about 5 minutes. What questions? Any questions at this point? Have I like hit you with water from a fire hose? Are you guys okay? Question, go ahead.
How long do you typically have to memorize scripts?
It depends. We had an emergency situation not too long ago where it was the night before. So that was a challenge. But yeah, it depends on the production. It depends on their selections as far as the casting process goes. I would hope that as soon as they make their decisions about who they want to cast, that they'd send you over the script, but that's something you can always ask. If you get that selection email, then ask them, when do you anticipate I can get the scripts? Yeah, the further out you get them, the better. Luxury of time is a great thing. We don't always have it. Question?
When you were talking about headshots and resumes, when you say, I know I've seen before, sometimes people will print their headshots with the resume on the back. Is that what you would recommend, just in case, like, so you don't have to like ruin
Like
it,
staple it?
yeah, or if it comes undone.
You can. I like that idea. My only concern is if you're printing them yourself, okay. Like if you've got headshots and you've got them printed at professional somewhere, and you're gonna run them through your printer to print your resume, okay. If you're looking to get them printed somewhere, like both of them together, the concern I have there is your resume is going to change. So you've got these 100 headshots and resumes, because it happened to my son. And I'm like, we've got this great thing, but there's all this other stuff that should be added to the resume.
Yeah.
So if you're going to print them yourself, I would say, yeah, because I like that it's not going to come apart. But if you're going to get them pre-printed, just keep in mind that things may change on your resume. Don't get a big, get 25. Don't get a huge quantity of them.
Thank you.
Good question. Sure. Other questions?
Kind of curious of I guess agencies and I guess casting enrichment and how, how's that catered towards talent or not catered towards talent? Because it sounds like there's a lot of holes where talent could not get paid or so is it I guess.
I'd say it varies by business, and I can really only speak to my business and how I operate. If you work on a liquid project, you will get paid. I've had clients who have not paid their bills, but I still pay anyone who works for me. That's just the way I operate. I can't speak for all agencies. That's something you certainly would want to ask if you're interviewing various agencies. But I realize that I don't have anything besides my people. I can't sell you a bottle of pop, or I don't have anything to sell other than my relationships with the people. And if you're mad at me because I didn't pay you for the last job and I'm asking you to do this job, you're gonna be like, no, you didn't pay me for the last job. And that's only fair. So yeah, I would say it, again, I can only speak for liquid, but I would say it very much so just depends on the agency, on what's happening, on if there's a contract, whatever the terms of the contract would be. Sometimes it's deferred pay. So as a talent going into any production or any project, having that understanding is important. Good question. Other questions?
What would you say is the ratio of clients that come to you versus you finding clients?
Probably 99 to 1. I don't go after clients. Yeah, I've tried to build stable relationships with my clients so that they do come to us, for repeat business. Very rarely will I go try to drum up business somewhere. It's awkward and kind of weird. And especially if we're sourcing talent, very awkward and weird for me to walk up to you on the street and say, hey, would you like to be an actress? I don't know. No, maybe not. So we definitely don't do that, but yeah, it's usually referrals. That, you know, somebody has worked with us before and then they'll refer us on to other people and that's how we build our business. But it's just to me awkward to go after, you know, try to go after things.
Hi, so Claire from the chat had a question. She asked, how do you recommend getting started as a casting director?
I would probably say to intern somewhere. It's definitely, there's a lot that goes into casting, and you have to have a network of folks, of people. If you're starting out to, you know, you've got to have a network to draw upon as far as getting your messages out there, getting your projects out there. Good question, but I would say maybe intern with some, you know, local castings, get a feel for it, make sure it is what you want to do. There is a difference. I'm a talent agent, I'm not a talent manager. And I'm a casting director. So when I'm casting director, I'm casting a wide net. When I'm an agent, I'm going with my roster. So there are differences in the types of positions. So just being sure that you understand the differences and that's really what you want to do. Sorry, I'm totally looking at you because you asked the question. Thanks, Claire. Did that answer your question? Oh, I see. Okay, I can see the chat here.
It did, thank you so much.
Okay, good. Yeah, and you can always use us. I mean, I had mentioned yesterday in a session that I was attending, that, you know, certainly you can use your alumni connections. You can use us. Liquid Talent Group is our website. Check it out if it's something you might be interested in, or even like you mentioned, dabbling, just to kind of see what's going on, see, you know, what's happening in the market. So to speak.